It's election night, mate. And here with your wall-to-wall coverage, Roosevelt Franklin.
Good evening, students from Dunkerton High. This is Roosevelt Franklin with your 2016 presidential election coverage. Today is a day we've been anticipating. Some out there may be anticipating great change to sweep over America. We've all heard the Make America Great Again chants. Others may be hoping to continue on what they believe to be an upward trend in our country. And with nervous tics and sweaty brows, some may even be dreading the outcome. For these candidates didn't really quite meet their extinguished character traits they were hoping for in a presidential candidate. Regardless, a decision will come to fruition tonight. It was up to you, the students, to decide who would become our next president. Tonight will be a live breakdown of how each class voted, analysis of our electoral process, and issues that swayed the many votes that were cast. To get rolling tonight, we're going to throw it over to Wilson Woodrow, who will educate us all on the electoral votes in the Dunkerton secondary. Pay attention, there's some math involved, and you'll all be schooled. Wilson, break it down for us.
Hi, I'm Wilson Woodrow here tonight with our first look at the Electoral College map. As you can see, we have 7 classes, 6th through 12th grade. Each one has a certain amount of votes available that they'll be giving towards the presidential election. It'll be the first one to win 51 electoral votes. The first one to 51 votes is going to win. There's 100 votes available tonight. Each amount of votes is based on who has more people in their class. Currently, the biggest class is the current 7th grade class. They have 17 electoral votes available. The next biggest are the 8th graders and the 11th graders, worth 16 points each. Okay? Our next biggest then is the freshmen, 14 points. 10th graders with 13 electoral votes possible. And rounding it out are 2 smallest classes, the 6th grade and the 12th grade, with 12 electoral votes available. Again, it'll be the race to 51 votes. Either way, it's going to take probably 4 out of the 7 classes going to either Mr. Trump or Mrs. Clinton for them to win the White House.
Thanks, Wilson. That's a great breakdown for us. Now we're going to talk a little bit about the issues that the students thought were important to them in this election. We're going to bring in a political expert, Pierce Franklin, who's going to break down the issues a little bit more for us.
Thanks, Franklin. Pierce Franklin here, bringing you a preview of the issues for the upcoming election before we begin to get in results. There are a lot of issues that I know that Dunkerton students are very concerned about, as well as many voters across the nation. Some of those issues include education. Being a school, we're very concerned about education. Will states be allowed to continue with their own standards? Will there be a rising cost of college? Students are very concerned about going into debt just to get their college education. Related to that, jobs. Will there be jobs available once you get out of college and are looking for that first job? Our economy is of great concern to many across the nation, as well as trade with other countries. Should we continue the trade agreements that we have, or should they be renegotiated? Each candidate has their ideas on that. Also, another hot button issue with many Dunkerton students I know, some sources in the 6th grade are telling me gun control is quite an issue for them, trying to make up their minds who they feel best supports their ideas when it comes to gun control. Should the Second Amendment be protected as it is, or should adjustments be made? Some feel that it's too easy to get high-powered weapons that shouldn't be in the hands of individuals, especially those who have some sort of a medical history that would prevent them from making good decisions if they had a gun. Related issues, racism across the country, civil rights. There's been many outbursts across different cities in our nation, and it's becoming a concern. People's feelings about different races and racial profiling among the law enforcement, and do there need to be changes made due to the strife that we are seeing regarding civil rights and racism. Also, terrorism is becoming a rising concern, and also a very important issue with this election in 2016. How do you feel about who we allow into the country, and what has to be provided in order for us to allow someone into the country? And do they have terrorist ties? Should there be a terrorist watch list? And how do we come up with that list? Which candidate supports your views on that? Finally, immigration is also a very hot button issue. Who's going to be allowed to come into the country, and what requirements will they have to meet in order to do so? Will we build a wall, as Mr. Trump so desperately wants to do, and who will pay for that wall? All these issues will be determining the 2016 election, and it's you students in Dunkerton who will be deciding who best supports what I want to happen. Who will I elect to be our next president and support the issues in the way that I would like to see them supported?
Thanks, Pierce. As students came out of the polls today, we tried to catch up with them to see what determined their vote. Award-winning journalist, field journalist, Carter James caught up with some of them. Here's the scoop. Carter?
Thank you, Mr. Franklin. I'm Carter James, live from the field with 11th grade student Maddie Howland, who recently participated in this year's election. I really have one or two questions for you. What was the most influential topic of this year's presidential election that really made you think about who you were going to vote for?
Well, I have to say that education played a huge role in my vote. And yeah, that was about the most influential topic.
All right. Now, there's just a few different topics about education. What was the main thing that really resonated with you and main issue with education?
Well, since I'm going to be going to college soon, I heard that one of the candidates promised that college would be debt-free, and I feel like that'd be really great for me since I'm going to be going to college in the next couple of years.
All right. There you have it, Mr. Franklin. And I'm Carter James, so back to you in the studio.
Great take by 11th grader Maddie Howland. Now we're going to go back to Carter to get another take on the issues. Here's Carter with another student.
Thank you, Mr. Franklin. I'm Carter James, live with Shiloh Witt, sophomore student who recently participated in this year's election. Now I've got just a couple questions for him again. Shiloh, what was the most influential topic for you in this year's presidential debate?
Well, I'll tell you, Carter James. I was thinking immigration.
Immigration, very good topic, very hot right now. What specifically about immigration?
Terrorists infiltrating other countries with other migrants from their own.
Very interesting. Would you like to go in depth about how they were infiltrating or what your candidate's plans were?
I would love to. My candidate's plans were to build a wall.
And you think building a wall would help stop this infiltration?
It'd build more security to stop the terrorists.
All right, there you have it. Live from Carter James, Shiloh Witt thinks border security is the main topic with immigration. Back to you in the studio, Franklin.
Well, clearly that student had a conservative view of things. We're going to go back to Carter. He's interviewing 11th grader Dalton Birch to see what he has to say.
All right, live here reporting from Dunkerton High School. I'm James Carter here with junior Dalton Birch, who's like to give us some insight on his election topics this year. So Dalton, what election topics were key influencing you in this year's election?
I chose terrorism, and I said that because my family were affected by 9/11, and they got pulled into the war because we're a big military family, and so that really hits close to home. So that's my reasoning for voting.
Thank you, Dalton. Live, Carter James from the field. Back to you, Mr. Franklin.
We caught up with one final student as he came out of the polls. Carter?
Thank you, Mr. Franklin. I'm Carter James here, live with Holden Gillespie, a sophomore here at Dunkerton High School who participated in this year's presidential election. Holden, I've got one quick question for you. What was the most influential topic for you when deciding your vote for this year's candidates?
I thought they were both really childish, so the two main candidates were childish, like Trump and Hillary, so I decided to vote for a third-party candidate.
All right, there you have it. Fresh from Holden Gillespie in the sophomore class, he decided to choose a third-party candidate for this year's election. Back to you in the studio, Mr. Franklin.
Thanks, Carter. Now we're going to send it over to Wilson Woodrow so that he can give us his early predictions on the electoral map.
Wilson Woodrow back here, back with the electoral college map. Now let's take a look at who is looking good going into the night. Who is going to have the most votes tonight? Who is going to get to those 51 electoral votes needed to win the White House? Early polling, some of those pre-polls, are showing that some of the conservative states leaning towards Donald Trump are the 8th graders and their 16 electoral votes. We do think that there's a very good chance Donald Trump will be able to win the 8th grade. Again, this is pre-polling, very much not a certainty. Okay, other state or other class that might be going towards Mr. Trump is the 12th grade. 8th grade and 12th grade are the two that I personally think has a great chance to go red for Mr. Trump. Now, Mrs. Clinton is also leading 2 of the states. Again, these are not guarantees, but it really, in my opinion, the 9th grade and the 10th grade, very liberal classes. Very good chance those 2 classes are carried by Mrs. Clinton. Now, what that leaves, if that was the case, it's 2 states to 2. It'd be 28 points for Donald Trump. It'd be 27 points for Hillary Clinton. Again, it's first one to 51 votes or points, however you want to put it. That leaves 3 classes undecided. The 6th grade, the 7th grade, and the 11th grade. Battleground classes. Who's going to win? Will it be Hillary Clinton? Will it be Donald Trump? I think it's going to probably come down, in my opinion, to who can win 2 out of these 3 classes. Whoever is able to win the most out of these 3, I think will be your next president. But remember, I'm not always right. I know that's hard to believe, but Wilson Woodrow is not always right. So these could go a different way. What's going to happen? Stay tuned. It's going to get crazy tonight.
Thanks, Wilson. I know it's early, but some results are starting to trickle in here. 30% of precincts are reporting, and it appears Mr. Trump has staked himself to an early lead in the 6th and 11th grades. And Clinton is looking strong in the 7th and 9th grades. 8th and 12th are pretty much neck and neck right now. We will hopefully see conclusive results shortly. For now, we're going to head to a quick commercial break. Please stay with us. Election coverage is just underway.
Hey, what's your name?
Oh my gosh, he is cute.
Hey, I'm Brianna.
Hey, what are your interests?
Oh my gosh, he has the worst breath ever.
Sorry, I'm seeing someone right now. I gotta go.
Poor Bryant and his bad breath. He should have taken Big Red Gum. Get some today and solve all your needs.
Welcome back to M&N. I'm Roosevelt Franklin. We have some breaking news. We can now project a winner in 3 classes. It appears that 6th and 11th grade have chosen Mr. Trump. And meanwhile, 9th grade has also chosen their president of choice, and it is Miss Clinton. We are now going to throw it back over to the electoral map to get a breakdown of the early results.
Thanks, Roosevelt. Our first 3 states in. What exciting news. Remember, we're racing to 51 votes. Whoever gets to 51 votes first, Clinton or Trump, is going to be your next president. If we come over here and look, the 9th grade has gone blue. Yes, the 9th grade has gone to Hillary Clinton. So she will get all 14 of these electoral votes. So we're going to color that blue because that's gone to the Democrat Hillary Clinton. And that is worth 14 electoral votes. So she has 14 points on the scoreboard. Donald Trump has won the 6th grade and the 11th grade. Exciting news if you're a Republican fan and a fan of Mr. Trump. So with winning the 6th grade, he gets 12 electoral points for winning the 6th grade. That goes red for the Republicans. And then over in the 11th grade, he gets 16 points. Huge, huge 16 points winning the junior class for Mr. Trump. So that puts him up at 28 points. So your current score on the race 51, Donald Trump 28, Hillary Clinton 14. Still early in the night, anything can happen, but a bunch of these states better start going blue if Hillary's going to have a chance to win. Back to you.
Thanks, Wilson. Things sure are getting exciting. We're now going to bring back our political expert so that he can take a deeper look into what has been driving the votes of our students.